Hi, and welcome to A Walk to Remember. My name is Dwayne Baker-Henderson, and as always, I'll be your host as we explore some of the truths and the myths that surround postpartum depression, and hopefully give you some tips to make your journey or someone else's journey through postpartum depression a little bit easier. Now, today I want to talk about fear. Fear is something that we all face. It's something that we all feel. It's part of the fight or flight response that our body has very naturally. But sometimes it can feel very overwhelming, and it can stop us from doing the things that we need to do or that we want to do in our lives. It can become quite a big hurdle for us to overcome. And that is especially true when it comes to something along the lines of postpartum depression or any other mental illness. And there's a couple of steps we can follow to either reduce or eliminate that fear altogether. The first step that I think is super important in this process is to just become aware that fear is what we're feeling. Now that might sound redundant or simplistic, but I know from my own personal experience, sometimes when I've been afraid of things, it's manifested itself in a different form. For instance, when my family was going through postpartum depression, sometimes I had fear about what was going to happen with my wife Corey or my kids or our finances. There were a lot of things that I was afraid of right at the beginning of that time for us. And sometimes that manifested itself as sadness or as depression or anger or a host of other things. And I didn't really realize that it was fear that I was feeling. So it's really important to be aware that those things might actually be fear. And once you have become aware of that fear, the second step is to think about what has triggered that fear in you. It might be a call to action of some sort. It might be a more irrational fear based around something you learned as a child or that you've kind of taken on through this postpartum process. It's really important to figure out what kind of fear it is. If it's triggered by the necessity to get something done or to get help or something like that, there's a call to action there. And the way to alleviate that fear, the easiest, is to follow what that call to action is. Whether it be making a phone call or talking to somebody or spending some time with people instead of being alone or spending some time alone instead of being with a bunch of people. There might be a call to action in that fear. And so think about what that is and think about what triggered that fear in the first place. If it's a more irrational fear that's more along the lines of just general anxiety, there might have been something in your day that you heard or that you did or you saw that may have triggered that fear. And so think about that. What was the trigger that started that fear to build in you? And once you figured out what that trigger is, you can kind of work backwards to alleviate the fear from there and think about whether that trigger is actually something you need to fear or it is in fact irrational and you don't need to fear it. So being able to label that trigger and what has caused that fear is really important. Once you have labeled it, it's important to take action. And if it is something where there's been a call to action, make that phone call. Go and see those people. Finish the task that fear is telling you to finish. And once you've done that, I'm sure that fear will go away if it is more of a call to action fear. I had a mentor tell me one time, actually many times, that action cures fear. And that was very much the case in that period of my time of my life when they were telling me that. So if there's action that needs to be taken, take that action immediately. Don't procrastinate on it. Get it done immediately, and that fear should go away. If it's more of an anxiety type of thing, there's also a couple of actions that you can take. One that I found to be quite effective is to focus on my breathing. And it just distracts me from thinking about other things. When I'm really focused on something that I'm afraid of, the best thing I can do usually is focus myself on something else. And so focusing on my breathing is the easiest thing because it's with me all the time. And all I do is I close my eyes and I listen to myself breathing and I just continue that until I start to feel better. You can also distract yourself through other things. There were times when I would decide, okay, I'm really focused on thinking about this thing that is scaring me. I'm going to do something completely different that's going to take my mind off of that completely. So I'd read a book, or I would listen to some music, or I would talk to somebody, or I would watch something that was funny. As I've said in many of my other videos, laughter has been a great thing for me, especially when it comes to fear. And there's lots of other ways you can distract yourself. Get doing something. Just get busy and moving, and put your attention somewhere else, and that fear could diminish quite a bit. And you can look at other things as well. You can talk to a professional. That definitely will help. If you already have somebody who's helping you with your postpartum depression, talking to your doctor or your therapist or whoever it is can really, really help with those little fears as well. Spending time with people you care about, who you feel safe with, that can help a lot as well. And talk about it. Don't keep those fears inside you. Definitely share them with people. Once you get them out, they seem to dissipate a lot easier. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, just how to alleviate fear, to identify fear, and know where it's coming from. If you did like the video, please give it a like. If you want to see what's coming up next, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you did that. And give me your comments in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what fears you overcame, or what actions you took to overcome those fears. Again, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.